Welcome to another episode of Data Analytics Chat. I'm Ben Parker, data recruiter and podcast host, looking to share insights and words of wisdom for the listeners. Today, I'm excited to welcome Shaina Boone, a Chief Analytics Officer at PhD Media. Shaina is a powerhouse in marketing science and analytics, transforming how Fortune 500 companies leverage data, AI, and analytics to drive business success. In today's episode, we'll explore her career journey, how she got started, pivotal moments that shaped her path, and also touching on AI in the marketing industry. Shaina, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Happy to be here, Ben.
Excited. Can you share, I guess, start off, can you share your journey? What inspired your interest into the field?
Yes. So I actually come from an arts background, so it wasn't the first thing you would expect from someone. But over time, I became exposed to analytics and realized, oh, well, I overanalyze everything I do in my day to day life. I probably would be a good analyst. And it was actually my eye doctor that pointed out I was analytical based on the way I was managing my contacts and how I was using them. I began to investigate it and explore it a little bit into my career, and I'll talk a bit more about how I discovered it later. But I thought, wow, well, this is a real opportunity. I've been working in marketing. We don't know if anything is working or not. If there was a way to understand the value of what marketing does, then I would like to be one of the people who helps figure that out. So my inspiration was truly, is all the work we do in marketing worth it? And that helped me to decide to pivot my career into it.
Brilliant. And then, did you sort of originally fall into marketing then to start with, or was it just
Yes. Well, I graduated from college in 1998 or university, and they said you can get a job in the internet. So I got a job in the quote unquote internet and making websites. And then it kind of organically went from there.
And then I guess for yourself, obviously, with the industry now, I mean, there's a lot of people wanting to get into the field. I guess, did you always want to get into leadership? Because I think there's many different routes you can get into this field now, isn't there? And you don't necessarily have to become a leader, but I mean, was that a passion of yours?
That is a great question. It wasn't obvious to me for a long time. And when I look back now, I wish someone maybe had pointed it out to me. I was a bit of a reluctant leader, but when I look back on my entire life, I was often put in a leadership position as far as very young age. I was always the team captain in sports. If there was a group at school, everyone would be like, "You should be in charge." And as I even began my career in junior roles, I was often put in charge. I think within 8 weeks on my very first job, I was managing 8 people, 8 freelancers to execute some big complicated work. And then I had at one point, my boss at the time said to me, "You're a better leader than I am. Why don't you be in charge?" So I think some people are just naturally gifted to hold the room and to be comfortable telling people what to do and when to do it. And I think if you feel that, you can lean into it sooner, and not be as reluctant about it, waiting for someone else to step in and do it. So I feel that I am meant to be a leader and I embrace it versus push against it. And that has really helped me to be successful in it.
Yeah, that's good because I think obviously with a lot of people, some people obviously can be technically gifted at your expertise, so marketing or
Mhm.
a data scientist, and then people are because they're successful there pushed into leadership. And I guess if you're not got
Mhm.
that drive and passion, you're not going to get that connection, are you?
Exactly. Exactly. And over time, you know, at the beginning of being a leader, it's a lot about you. But as you mature into your leadership role and get better at it and more comfortable in it and have that many more people working under you, the moment you realize it's about everyone else is when you become a real successful leader. And you're not going to get thanks. You're not going to get told good job. Your job is to lift everyone else up, and that seems to then make you that much more of a successful leader when everyone realizes actually you really care about them more than yourself. And so I've just found that to be a very rewarding part of leadership, is not caring so much about what I'm doing and more about lifting everyone up to their next step in their career.
Yeah, brilliant. Cool. So, yeah, Obviously, with the industry, obviously, I guess marketing's been impacted massively with AI. So, what's one of the big challenges the industry faces today?
Well, first of all, everybody wants to be using AI, and I think some people aren't able to use it as fast as they would like. We have a wonderful set of tools available to us here. We have 8 different LLMs. We have Chat GPTs, Gemini, Claude, and we have a pretty good infrastructure, but they are LLMs. And one of the shortcomings, I would say, for that right now for analytics is they're based on language, not based on numbers. And so we've been struggling a bit to actually get the AI to do quantitative analytics type tasks. We have Copilot integrations into Microsoft, and we can't get Excel to do what we want it to do. So I think we've come a dramatically long way since the fall of last year, in that we didn't even have access to these things at work, and now we do. But it's not doing as much as we want it to do yet. So we're also working with some outside vendors that do more quantitative AI, numbers based AI versus words based. And we're testing out some of those things as well. But I think we're all trying to find ways to bring efficiency to the work we don't want to do, effectiveness to the product that comes out, and then really an evolution into doing something different. What I think that businesses might face is either it doesn't move fast enough, or they jump to the conclusion of, well, we should eliminate roles before we're really ready to be doing some things like that. So I think we are on the cusp of change. I thought we were going to evolve faster. 3 months ago, I was thinking we were going to evolve faster than we just have, through all the, we've run 32 different pilot programs in AI over the last 3 months, and a lot of them sort of hit a wall. They're a little bit of a dead end. So we need the technology to get better, but we need to use the technology to help it learn to be better. So I think that's where we're at right now. Businesses will continue to struggle with that until we go through this time of change. For me, going through the dot-com boom in 1998 and the bust, I feel like I'm just like, oh, right, I remember this. We already did this once. And I think there are a lot of people in business who did not live through that, where that was a massive time of change. Everybody getting their first website. And I was building those first websites. So it's just going to be an unusual growth period. And I don't think you can actually have any idea how it's going to change. You just have to be open to change.
So, yeah, I mean, I think most businesses are going through similar challenges, is obviously scaling quick enough. Do you think that's due, because there's been such a massive change over a short period? Do you think people's expectations are just growing massively? Because obviously, like, I think obviously change is hard, isn't it? Obviously, when you constantly moving the goalposts, pe- things change. So you got to obviously deal with people, everything like that. So, do you think expectations have just shot up really high over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the expectations for data and technology to keep changing is extremely high. And there's still a lot of grunt, grudge work in analytics work that still takes a lot of people to do it. It takes a tremendous amount of people to do it. Paid media analytics, in particular, costs a ton to manage it and do it well. But people are spending a ton on paid media. So, there's a certain cost required to do measurement and analytics, but it is worth it. But I do find that the patience people are having for that is waning, and the amount of money they want to spend on it is also waning. And as the businesses that we work with are all currently being affected by the political situation in America, they're looking to cut more and more stuff. So it just makes it that much harder to get things done and to be effective.
Yeah, no, okay. So I would say it's like, I mean, it's learning, isn't it, as well? Like, it's still early days, and it's like baby.
Yeah.
Still,
Yeah.
businesses have got to actually embed it within their business. Like, it's a complete overhaul of business strategy, isn't it?
Yeah, completely. I mean, you got to think about throwing out the way you've been doing things. An example would be with this quantitative AI vendor we're working with. They said, well, you're not really supposed to get dashboards or scorecards or reports out of the system. You're supposed to query the system, write a prompt and get what you want out of it. And the thought of that alone is like a massive change management. Finance teams are used to getting year over year comparisons, week over week comparisons, scorecards, dashboards, and now you're supposed to write a prompt and get an answer out. That's not how the world has been working for a very long time. And you have to believe in it. Measurement is all about belief. So if they don't believe in this different way of doing things, then we're going to be stuck in the old way of doing things for longer than we would like. And you really have to let go of the way you do things and how you believe in what you're doing to move forward.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think obviously you've got to be able to just go with the flow now, haven't you? Because things move. You can't live in the past because, yeah, like I said, you get left behind.
Yeah.
So looking back, has there been any key moments that shaped your career?
Yeah. So I think what I started to allude to before, the dot-com boom and the dot-com bust was big. I went to art school. I have a photography degree, but like I said, I could get a job in the internet. So I came in and I wasn't a very good designer. I was a photographer, not a designer. So they put me in as a programmer. So I, was hand coding some of the first websites, the first Bacardi.com, Unilever.com, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Like I literally built those websites with my two hands with old programming, old HTML and all that kind of stuff. But then we had the dot-com bust very swiftly into my career, maybe 3 years in. Both my husband and I were unemployed and really hard to find any work. And then I had to move and work on the West Coast for a while. And then I came back and there were still no jobs. So I ended up at the American Dental Association. And that's where a bunch of other people who had worked at agencies that no longer existed anymore were. And together we, tried to evolve the marketing program there. But I got put in charge of Web Trends 3, which is one of the early nascent website analytics tools. And it was eye-opening. It was like I said before, I should have been an analyst. Nobody ever told me this. I did not have statistics in high school or in college, so it was just never exposed to me. So that was the big moment. I decided to get some training. Web analytics was becoming a big thing at the time. And I got the training and moved into it from there. Um,
Brilliant. And what training did you get? Because I guess listeners would like be interested into how you can evolve your career.
Yeah, but I took the University of British Columbia Web Analytics certification and then also the UC Irvine Data Warehouse Business Intelligence course. And there was the UC, or the first one was 4 different courses. They were manageable, but they still took a lot of time and really started to learn the fundamentals of data and the politics of analytics, and they're very, very good classes, and the community is really strong, and that community is still going strong. Jim Stern leads that community, and he has a lot of content he puts online that's helpful. And he has a conference every year, a marketing conference, marketing analytics conference every year. And that group really, kind of lifted me up. So I got the certification, and then I was ready to get a job back in the industry. And I happened to get a job back at an agency, Critical Mass, and within like 6 months of being there, there was everyone who was an analytics professional had quit. And so it was just down to me and this other guy. And the CEO and the COO said, "Hey, can you two figure out what's wrong? What's going on?" And so we spent 6 months really giving ourselves a mini on the job MBA and writing a business plan to put together what ended up being the very first marketing science department in a corporate setting. Companies like Meta and others now refer to their positions as marketing science. Marketing science was an existing term. It's used in academia. There's a conference every year called Informs Marketing Science, and they do 80% science and 20% marketing. We do probably closer to 70% marketing and 30% science, although these days we're probably closer to 50-50 in media analytics. But anyway, we were in the right place at the right time, and we're given an opportunity, and these executives believed in us, and came up with this new thing and like, well, you should be in charge. So we went on to be in charge. And the guy who I created it was Chris Berry. He moved on, but I stayed and ran the group for 8 years. And then I moved into paid media after 16 years on the website side. And then I've been in media for the last decade. And I've had 3 roles within my time here at Omnicom Media Group. And each one has given me an opportunity to really build on what I did at Critical Mass. And I now run, a 100-person department that includes analytics, data science, data operations, and MarTech functions. Really had a wonderful opportunity over the last 18 years inside of Omnicom to grow into this where I am today.
Brilliant. I think it's just it's amazing how like a simple change or career can just or changing career can impact your life. Like
Mhm.
just like a simple training course has completely changed your career, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, yeah, and it really helped me. I was so proud my first day on the job. I'm like, I have an analyst title, like, because I never really felt like a web dev. I was like, I'm not a good developer. Like, I'm not very good at it, and but an analyst, I can be that because in my heart of hearts, I'm an analyst and I identify with it, whether I'm doing it during my day job or doing it, at home or whatever. It's just who I am.
Brilliant. So then, have you ever faced a major career setback? And I guess if so, what did you learn from it?
Well, I guess I kind of answered that in advance. Definitely, losing my job at a young age was a big deal. And learning how to be unemployed is important. And I'm glad that I learned how to be unemployed when I was 23 instead of when I was older. You learn how to eat leftovers and how to be careful with money. And I'd say the one thing that I learned the most was how to be a good employee and then appreciate having a job and not getting so caught up in trying to have the perfect job. No job will ever be perfect. You should have a row of pros and a row of cons in every job you have. And, when the cons column fills up too high is when you should look for something new. But there'll never be anything perfect. And you want to try and find something that's going to keep you learning or to keep you motivated in whatever it is that motivates you about it. And then you're just a better employee. I find people who have actually lost their job are much better employees. They appreciate having a job and the value of it versus an entitlement that comes with people who have never had to go through it. So I'm glad for it. I'm just glad I was pretty young when it happened, when I didn't have a mortgage or anything like that to have to pay.
Yeah, I think obviously when you go through experiences, it's part of life, isn't it? Like you've gone through a
Mhm.
journey, you know how to react, and then like you touched on it, isn't it? You appreciate you've got a job now. You can obviously grow and learn from it.
Exactly.
So obviously you've made it to sort of chief analytics officer. What skills, traits have helped you stand out on this journey?
Well, I have been learning something new in media, at least for the last 10 years. I've been learning something new every 2 weeks for a decade. Media, in particular, is so volatile and constantly changing. You always have to learn something new. And one of the culture inside of this company is I like to refer to us all as like a pack of wild horses. And if you trip or fall or stumble, you're going to get left behind. So it's not a competitive environment. It's just a everyone wants to know more about everything. So everyone sort of carries each other along in the pack, in the herd, and we're constantly learning something new. And I think sometimes I saw Harvard, but people will say the word digital first mindset. And I was always confused by that because, well, my entire career has been digital. But then I read in Harvard Business Review last summer an explanation of what they think that means. And they think it means somebody who's expecting to learn something constantly. And I had never heard it phrased that way. And I 100% agree with it. There was a moment at the beginning of my career where we were web devs. We were trying to build the very first trading portal online through a website. So instead of traders trading on the floor, we were building a digital one. And we were all completely lost and confused, and we didn't understand trading and we didn't understand the technology we were using. And one of the developers said this poignant thing. He's like, any good developer, he was the leader, Any good developer wakes up every day having no idea what problem they're going to solve or how they're going to solve it. It's about having both the confidence that you're going to figure it out and the ability to actually figure it out and know that you're going to have to learn something today. And so never being comfortable with what you know is your mindset. And so I took that from that time and I've never not had it. I'm like, well, just go learn it. If you don't know something, go learn it. There's obviously people who don't have the aptitude to just go off and do that. But this Harvard Business Review said digital mindset, you should expect to learn something every 3 years, in manufacturing. Well, in media, you need to expect to learn something new every 2 weeks. And the more data driven an industry is, you need to expect to constantly grow and change. And that mentality is critical right now for AI. We literally had not even touched AI until the fall, almost everyone in my department. And we're now, because we got ahead of it, we're now probably more advanced than anyone else in the company, besides the folks who are building our platforms that have it. You just expect to learn and know that people who work in analytics are very bright and they should have the aptitude to be able to learn anything. And that's what I tell my team. Like, you want to make the big salaries that you make in analytics and you want to have all these opportunities, be prepared to constantly be evolving yourself. We call it self optimization. And therefore, it's a mindset. So I plan, to keep learning until I'm done working at some point in life, which I hope is in my 80s, because I just like to have something new to learn and to evolve and to change as much as I can.
Yeah, I love that because I think learning, obviously, it's good for your mind.
Yeah.
Firstly, because you keep growing, like you're growing as a person. You're not plateauing or just yeah. I think it's good for you, and then also I think when you learn, you can you can take that learning and apply it into your work or your life. You don't necessarily have to be like learning something career minded, do you? It could be just a way of working or you,
Yeah.
like even like reading a book or like online, you can just take something and then look, oh, actually, I could apply that to my work, and it can make a complete change in your life, can it?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. You should always be learning. It's just like you said, it's good for you. It's good for your brain. It's good for your mind. And it just makes you happier in general.
Yeah, I agree. So then, obviously, with that in mind, and obviously the way AI and the data world is at the moment, how do you, and especially when you're in the leadership position, how do you keep growing and staying relevant with the rapid changes?
Yeah, in a leadership role, it can be tough because you're being tugged at every day with fire drills and emergencies and personnel issues. And you really have to manage your calendar and your time and your energy and your focus to make time for it. And I think like I said, it was literally this Harvard Business Review article I've just read on a vacation last summer. It was like, what are you doing as a leader for AI? And I was like, oh, I'm not doing anything. I need to get it together. And so I just make sure that I control my time so that I am able to do it. It's so critical. It's like the difference right now is if you do not make time for it, you will truly be left behind. I believe that fully. It's just like 1998. I remember after I had lost my job, I went out and I had some interview at a furniture company out in the suburbs. And this guy was like, the internet is going away. No one's going to ever use it. You kids are making too much money. He was real rude. And then I was like, oh, I don't believe that. Well, I'm sure that, someone like that might have gotten left behind. And you don't want that. So it's maybe a bit of fear that motivates it and keeps you going, and also a relevancy, especially being in my, late 40s, Gen X. Gen X, we got the internet going. We're not going to stand by and let AI come with the alphas and the Z's and the millennials. We're going to keep trying to keep things evolving and because we did in the first place. And I just feel very passionate about being part of something huge and something that's changing the world. Is I just love being part of it. It makes me excited.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you've got passion about something, you want to keep learning because it's you've got an interest and it's you actually like what you're doing. It. So I guess I mean for yourself, how do you keep learning? Then it's
Yeah, well, I learn by doing primarily. So getting my hands dirty and using the AI myself as much as I can. I learn by sitting next to my team members who are doing something complicated in it and watching them going like, I need to see it. Like I need to see it. I'm a visual person. I have a visual arts degree. I have to see it and I have to actually do it myself. So I'm developing training for the agency. So helping others. I put my team through it. Then we determined like, and I did all the training myself too. We did this. There's a great training on LinkedIn. It's the AI Essentials and Copilot with Microsoft and LinkedIn. It's a lot of content. If you really learn, like you watch something, then you go off and try it, watch something, go off and try it. It can take upwards of 40 hours to get through it, but it is really worth it because it gives you all the fundamentals. And then you've actually gone off and done it. And you're like, okay, now I get this. When I run into a problem I want to solve, now I might think about how I can use that instead. So I do think you need to do training, and there's so much training available. LinkedIn learning platform is great for that kind of training. Um, then there are people on LinkedIn posting trainings. NVIDIA has a ton of training. You don't need to spend money to go to an expensive, a conference. You can just try to do things in it, since it's free. There's never been, even though the internet was on in 1998, not everybody had internet access. Everybody has access to AI. It's infiltrating every application, your phone, your email, your browser. There's no reason for you to not be able to learn about it. So just doing reading alone, ask Copilot to tell you how to learn AI and it'll read it back to you and it's free on your phone. So there's that's what I do. You just have to make time for it and pay attention to it. And you don't need to learn like all the back end code. You just need to learn how to use it and how to write it and how to, write a good prompt, or unless you want to do hardcore, quantitative math writing to actually write your own algorithms. That's what data science people might want to do. That requires more training. But if you're really just on the user's end, it's pretty easy to get up to speed on it pretty quick.
yeah, I think like it's blessed nowadays with so much content out there to learn.
Yeah.
Available. Like before, you'd have to go to the library, get a book,
Mhm.
and now it's just like it's instant, isn't it? Really, you can have a
Yeah.
conversation and look, just
Yeah. There's no excuse. It's just about learning how to manage your time right and not getting distracted. I think it's much easier to get distracted than it is to stay focused on something these days. So it's about that, controlling your attention.
yeah, the urge to go on apps and
Yeah,
there's
stay off the yeah.
many distractions we have in life. Brilliant. And so then what career advice would you give someone that they want to start into the industry today?
I would say uh, you need the fundamentals of data to be able to do anything. You need to actually understand how data works at a granular level because you can have WYSIWYG systems and software that sit on top of data and try and do stuff for you. But if you don't understand columns and rows of data, it makes it harder to do things later. So always get your data fundamentals. I think also learning data management is really helpful before you're just being if you're going to do the analytics side of the house. Coding is a good skill, which would have been like 5-6 years ago. You'd say, oh, you got to learn coding, Python, R, SQL. But one of the things we are seeing that LLMs do quite well is write code because it's a language. And so now I would say you should have the fundamentals of programming, but you don't need to spend tons of time knowing R and knowing Python because you can get the LLM to write it for you. And our data science teams are really spending a lot of time doing that. So learning how to use AI to write code would be what you should do instead of, and understand the fundamentals of programming, then you should be okay. You wouldn't need to do quite as much hands-on stuff. Um, I still think data storytelling and data visualization is so important and still not done great. You know, a lot of people struggle with how to tell the story of data. We're using the AI to write the analysis. It's helping a lot. So I would, you know, people coming out of college should be skilled at doing a lot of that already because they're doing it at school, where people my age, obviously none of this even remotely existed. We just got email when I was in college. So there's that piece. And I think understanding technology. And then there's like the strategy side. You still need to be able to do anything interesting with data, you have to understand business strategy and marketing strategy. And depending on which direction you go in your career, if you don't go into marketing, just knowing the concepts of like, what are we trying to do to run this business? Are we trying to get more customers? Are we trying to increase revenue? Are we trying to increase the yield of those customers on their purchases? You know, what are we trying to do? Because that helps inform then the analysis you're going to do, and then what data you need, and then how to manage that data. So it's really good to have all the pieces in your arsenal between analytics, data science, data operations, and then even the marketing technology or any kind of data technology, depending on the direction you want to go. And then you sit AI, you know, on top of it to help you manage it all. And that's the new part that's better. We've been doing things manually and slowly for almost 2 decades. I'm definitely ready for AI to come, and I'm really ready to say goodbye to the old technology of the last 20 years.
Yeah, I like how you say it's getting more strategic. Like strategy is important. 'Cause I do think it's getting more strategic now. I'm thinking like, how can you impact business? Because you've got the technology's there to do like the heavy lifting, coding, etc. Now it's actually like, how can you impact the business or your clients or whatever's needed from your business requirements, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's part you've got to understand business and strategy to get the value out of data in the first place. Because otherwise, you have no way to frame it up. You have nothing to put it into. You need framework for it to make sense, and that's what that does to get you there.
Brilliant. Yeah, technology nowadays would have helped me because I failed computer science. I couldn't get my head around programming. So yeah,
Uh,
the technology now would have solved
it
my
would make it a
challenges
lot
back then.
easier. Exactly.
So, all right,
Yes,
cool.
I remember actually to that point before you move on. I remember the first moment I used Google in my career and the first moment I used ChatGPT. They're two very poignant moments. And Google search, it was like a miracle, you know, compared to Netscape and whatever else we were using at the time. And it was just a real pivotal moment. I remember calling my parents going, I use this thing called Google. Let me tell you about it. And then when I used ChatGPT for the first time, I had it write a web page, a HTML code, and I just was like, oh my gosh, I used to work so much overtime for free. Obviously, we don't get paid for overtime. Work 15 hours a day manually hand coding, HTML, and then the AI just whipped it out in like less than 10 seconds. So it's definitely a big moment of change. But I appreciate it because I had to do it manually. I think there's always something of value in doing something manually before you do the automated way. Otherwise, you kind of don't get it.
Yeah, so a lot of change has happened. So
Yeah.
and it's going to keep going that way. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen in a year.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then to end, then, is there a particular achievement you're most proud of?
If I had to summarize, I would say growth. I mean, I have brought in very large amount of business in analytics, data, and technology into Omnicom over the last 18 years, and coupled that with that opportunity to give people their careers in analytics, and whether they stay here a while or move on, it gives them that stepping stone into what's next for them. And it just opens up a lot of opportunities for people in their careers to see a lot of different things. So I just think sort of the whole story of the last 18 years is I'm proud of it. It's been a great run, and there's no stopping or no shortage of needing people who can do this type of work. So I feel proud I've given probably upwards of a couple thousand people job opportunities in all the roles that I've been in here. And I feel good about that, as well as just, you know, taking advantage of all the opportunity that's just been right in front of me, like, and making something out of it and doing something with it. It's been a great ride so far. And there's a lot of opportunity to come, plenty of it.
Yep, definitely. Oh, brilliant. Well, obviously, congratulations on your career today. Progressing to leadership is obviously not no easy task, and obviously, yeah, like you said, you had a great journey so far. And yeah, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This is fun, and I love talking about all this stuff. So happy to do so.
Brilliant. Thank you.